Bernie Sanders lately has been full of surprises. Not saying that he usually isn't on the right side of history because, he always is, or for the most part is. But even though he isn't perfect, we can still tend to find him making the right decisions and fighting for the right causes overall. Now, lately, though, Bernie has been showing this evolution. And I don't know if a lot of you have noticed it. We've been covering a little bit here on the channel where he used to stay quiet during certain events, during certain ordeals, if you will, while certain people were being attacked that are allies to his particular cause. Now he's speaking up. And this Ilhan Omar thing was kind of a big test for me personally, right? Because if you all recall, if you didn't know, I put out a tweet the other day, and I'm going to try to find the tweet. And so if I do find it, you'll see it scrolling across the screen somewhere. But I put out a tweet the other day saying it would be really nice if Tulsi Gabbard and Bernie Sanders came to the defense of Ilhan Omar, considering that she's fighting for everything that they're fighting for, and even taking it a step further in a lot of the ways she's doing it, calling out people specifically, talking about specific events in specific regions, like she did with Elliot Abrams. And then because of her very valid, but once again, I won't even say unpopular critiques of certain regimes and certain people, but because they're popular, but they're not in coordination with the status quo. So she's being attacked for it. Of course, there's also the fact that the attacks are based off of really Islamophobia. They're attacking her in such a way that gaslights what she looks like, the religion she practices, etc. Trying to attribute her legitimate critiques to that rather than addressing her critiques, which is why all the smear articles about Ilhan Omar never really mention what she says. Never, actually. Most of the time, they just, she said something anti-Semitic and you're like reading the article and you're like, okay, I'm still waiting here. Okay, I guess we'll never know what the hell she said because you never talk about it. So given all the stuff we've been covering, it pleased me. It did my heart good to see Bernie Sanders come out and say this. Anti-Semitism is a hateful and dangerous ideology which must be vigorously opposed in the United States and around the world. We must not, however, equate anti-Semitism with the legitimate criticism of the right-wing Netanyahu government in Israel. Rather, we must develop an even-handed Middle East policy which brings Israelis and Palestinians together for lasting peace, he said in the statement to The Hill. What I fear is going on in the House is now is an effort to target Congresswoman Omar as a way of stifling that debate. He continued, and that's wrong. Wow. That says something. It's a lot. That's a lot. There's a lot to unpack here. First of all, where did he try to use his identity in that entire piece? He didn't say as a Jewish person, not saying that there's anything wrong with that. But once again, it just really goes to show you how much Bernie Sanders is not about identity politics, which of course, most of us love. I'm happy he doesn't talk about identity politics often. Identity politics is important, but not when it's being used to weaponize identities and basically shut down debate, which is what we're seeing from the establishments on both sides of the fence. So that was, he didn't say I'm Jewish, and so my opinion should count more. He just was like, nah, these are the facts. Of course, we know that anti-Semitism is dangerous and it is hateful, but when he says, yeah, that's true and all that good stuff, but that's not what we're seeing here. When he designates, rightfully so, the government of Israel as a right-wing entity, that is telling because it allows people to see, like, hold on. First of all, that's not even talked about. You notice whenever the Democrats or the Republicans come to the Republicans, they are right wing, but the Democrats, when they're speaking about the government of Israel, they fear monger about the quote unquote dangers of Donald Trump because he's bad for immigrants and he's bad for anybody who's a progressive and progressive policies and progressive. But Netanyahu isn't any better. Shit, some people would say Netanyahu may be quite worse. And has more influence on people's day-to-day lives, and the policies that he approves of and pushes, has more in the people that he appoints, has more influence on the day-to-day lives of the Palestinian people, as Trump does on American lives. So for him to say right-wing government, it forces people to have that conversation like, if you didn't know what was going on in Israel before this statement, your first thing is, oh, right-wing. That's a designation I've never heard given to Netanyahu or if you don't know who Netanyahu is, you hear right wing, you're going to know, oh, there's more to this story than I thought. And if this government's right wing, why are the Democrats defending them? Because then you have to start getting into the truth, right? And the truth is they're defending them because of the money. They get a lot of money. They get paid vacations. I mean, and of course, who wouldn't want to be an Israeli Jewish person? I mean, you get a lot of holidays if you're an Israeli Jewish person. They take like 15 holidays. Like after, basically, once April started, April starts, you're good. Holidays every day. It's awesome. But other than that, I don't think that's why they're doing it. I don't think they're doing it for the holidays. I'm pretty sure they're doing it for the money. And not only the money, but the power that AIPAC not only has, but will absolutely wield to make sure that you do not have your seat anymore if you question their authority, and if you question Israel's heinous atrocities. But it's right wing, and you don't ever. We say it. The independent community says it. Mark Lamont Hill said it before he was fired from CNN. We talk about this, right? But for a politician, as popular as Bernie Sanders is, for a politician that's Jewish, whose family survived the Holocaust, knowing that Israel always used the Holocaust to try and justify the things that they do. And for him to come out and say, no, this is not anti-Semitism. You are trying to weaponize pain and suffering, the legitimate pain and suffering of the Jewish community, to allow Netanyahu and the right-wing Israeli government to commit human rights atrocities. So that's dope that he's saying that. And once again, it shows that he's not really cutting any corners. It seems like it's like this transition that Bernie's going through. Like I said, I said in my initial video, it's not going to be, when he first announced that hour and a half long video I did, I said it's not going to be the same. And people said, well, why is that in the super chat? I said, because this is about him now, right? I'll say about him, this election will reveal the character of Bernie Sanders. Because before it was a thermometer. He was feeling the temperature out, getting a heat check, seeing what he could and couldn't get away with, seeing what the establishment could and couldn't get away with, seeing how the people would rally behind him or not rally behind him, see who was on his side, who wasn't on his side. This time it's different. I mean, let's be honest. Once again, he is in a spring chicken. But I don't think that's even the reason why he's running the election differently this time. I think he is in it to win it, and he knows you can't only be in it to win it by talking about good policies, because everybody's going to now talk about the policies. Like even Elizabeth Warren is trying to make some noise by talking about policy, but I don't think that the policies are going to be enough. The rhetoric has to be there. The policies are for the people who are already going to vote for you, who aren't paying attention to the internet, which there aren't a lot of those people, by the way. A lot of people are still paying attention to the internet. But the policies are for those who are kind of on the fence as to whether or not they want to vote Democrat or Republican. That's important, right? Or even vote in the primary, more so. They want to vote, they're trying to decide, well, I don't want to vote for Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, and then Tulsi, Kamala, whatever. And they're like, okay, Bernie's been the most consistent, therefore I'll vote for him. Cool. They're fine with that. That's what the town halls will say, or will demonstrate and then do for him. But then you have to worry about bringing in the independents. You have to be worried about bringing in the people who pay attention year round. And those are a lot. 70% of the country damn near is independent now. It's probably increased since that number was last checked. Those who are paying attention to how this administration has treated WikiLeaks. Those who are paying attention to how this administration is talking about Venezuela and who's echoing Venezuela rhetoric, which is why I was glad that Bernie moved a little bit more left there, right? Said he refused to call Maduro a dictator, refused to advocate for United States specific he refused to advocate for United States specific aid in Venezuela, right? So that rhetoric is what people are looking for in a president, because make no mistake, the operative word in president is preside. And you're going to be presiding, and a lot of that presiding includes saying the right things so that the people know what's going on, can adjust their opinions one way or the other optically, based off of the optics. And that requires a level of trust to be willing to adjust the opinion of myself or you or whatever, based off of the president. Right now, we don't have that trust. But if you want to be the president that everybody trusts, this type of rhetoric is important. So he goes on to say, we must develop an even-handed Middle Eastern policy would bring Israelis and Palestinians together for lasting peace. That's not what the establishment says. Once again, they don't say anything about everlasting peace. They don't care about it. Perpetual warfare is how they stay paid. The constant fear of Palestine is how they stay paid. That's how people like Netanyahu stays in power. They always tell me, my Israeli friends will tell me, the problem with voting for the president or the prime minister in Israel is that somebody like Netanyahu will step up, and then somebody who is quote unquote far left will come in as well. But oftentimes they're controlled opposition, right? They're so far left that even people like you and I wouldn't vote for them because they're just like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just there's some people who just don't make any sense. They're just basically contrarians and like in every way, form, or fashion, but don't actually have solutions. They just want flowers and rainbows and to basically contradict anything the status quo says, regardless of whether or not it's working. And so, but they perceive that as controlled opposition, so they don't trust that. And then when you're talking about the election rigging as well, they're like Netanyahu's going to end up winning anyway, or somebody like Netanyahu is going to end up winning anyway. So nobody really says for peace for both Palestine and Israel. Very rarely. And for, once again, a presidential candidate to say that, it's pushing him further into the in my mind, where people said that he was a puppet of the establishment, where people said that he's a Zionist. All these claims that people have said, which weren't true, but you know how it goes. People say what they say. But you don't say things like this. And then for him to go on and say, like, if you're a puppet of the establishment, you don't say things like this. And then for him to go on and say, what I fear is going on in the House right now is an effort to target Congresswoman Omar as a way of stifling that debate of the Israel-Palestinian conflict. That says something. It means he's starting to call a spade much more often than he may have been known to do over the last couple of years. He hasn't missed his words a lot when it comes to Israel, but to say specifically, I'm not playing your game. I'm not allowing you to weapon. Basically, that's what he said. I'm not playing your game. I'm not going to allow you to weaponize my identity. And I know what you're doing to her. It's not going to work. As a presidential candidate, as someone with leverage, as someone who can make my voice heard and shift the conversation and let the progressives know if they are on the fence where I stand or where we should stand, I'm going to be bold enough to say, I know what you're doing. It won't work. We need to have this conversation. Netanyahu is a right-wing psychopathic lunatic. He didn't say that, but that's basically what he is. Ilhan Omar has said nothing anti-Semitic. Once again, this is the second time he's come to her defense. And we need to reach a solution that benefits both Israel and Palestine, not just one country over the other. That's amazing. That shows that Bernie is evolving. Once again, not perfect, but I'm not asking for perfection. I'm still a pragmatist, okay? I'm not asking for perfection, but I am asking for intentionality. And what is your intentionality? And I'm also asking for consistency. If you're going to be progressive on this issue and speak out against the Trump administration, then you have to be progressive on all these issues where the Trump administration is clearly being guided by the neoconservative establishment. So congratulations, Bernie. Thank you for that wonderful statement. And thanks for everyone else for tuning in. Make sure you tune into Tulsi Gabbard's town hall tonight on CNN. I believe it's at 8 o'clock. And more than anything else, always remember, find your balance. Peace. Thank you for watching that segment of Mi Casa es Su Casa. Help us reach our goal of 500 patrons. You can do so by donating as little as $1 by clicking on the Patreon link in the description below. Don't forget, join us on Roku and JustNForm. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook as well. And remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.